Let me say that I never expected this race to be the national race it turned out to be. I never expected President Trump to come to the state as much as he did, sending Vice President Pence, sending his family time after time after time. And you stood tall. What you said, what West Virginia said loud and clear tonight, Mr. President, we want our senator, not your senator.
No.
That was Tuesday night in Charleston, West Virginia. Joining us now is the newly reelected senator from West Virginia, Democrat Joe Manchin. Senator, good morning. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while. Good to see you. Uh-oh, we don't have the senator's microphone.
So he lost his voice after all that campaigning. Let's see if we can fix the...
Do we have his mic, guys, or no?
Let's see if we can fix the
okay, we're gonna
audio.
work on that aspect of it. Sam, but we'll get his microphone up in a second.
Not quite the senator,
but Senator Manchin won re-election in a state that went by 42 points.
Yeah.
The final margin was about 3 points that he won, and he's right. The president came in, the president's kids went in.
Yeah.
They were all in to knock off Joe Manchin.
It was kind of an interesting. It was an interesting race in the fact that Joe Manchin and Donald Trump are not. They can get along.
Yeah.
They're amicable towards each other. He has a decent relationship with the president, and there was almost an assumption that Trump would kind of back off a little bit.
Yeah.
But he ended up besting his opponent in the race, and it was done primarily through sort of skilled centrism and running heavily on healthcare.
Senator, we got your microphone, so let's go take two on this. Good morning. It's good to have you back with us.
Hey guys,
So how did you do it, Senator? Let's talk about what happened in that state. Obviously, you were the governor of that state. You're a popular figure there. The spread was probably thinner than you'd like it to have been at 3 points. But what was your message to voters as they were bombarded all the way from the top, from the President of the United States, with messages against you?
I think, Willie, what you just saw, the clip that I spoke that night as far as the election night, when we were in...
Lost his voice. He
Excuse
really
me, guys,
did.
I lost my voice on the motorcycle ride for 2 days. But anyway, let me say that night when you heard me say what I said, it truly was that. The people of West Virginia want their senator. They like the president. They support him. He won over 42%. And make no mistake about it, this was between me and the president. Because for the last 5 months, and I told the president, he's called me during the campaign. I said, why do you keep coming back? I said, why do you keep coming back? But he does, okay. I said, that's okay, Mr. President. I've been running against you for 5 months now anyway, because every ad, and you spent 15, 20 million, every ad has been you coming on saying a vote for my opponent, a vote for Morsi is a vote for me. I need that guy. And it's almost like do whatever you can to get rid of Joe. Well, guess what? The people in West Virginia said, we want Joe. We don't want your guy, Mr. President. We want our guy, and I'm their guy. I'm 100% West Virginia, and we push that home because I'm going to make a vote that's good for my state, whether the president, whether it's for him or not. And I stood up against him with the ACA, and every time he came to the state, he said, Joe doesn't vote with me. I voted with him on more things than any other Democrat, and he knows that.
Yeah.
But he wants 100%. And I said, I'm sorry, I've been married for 51 years. I'm not even that. Gail and I don't agree on 100%. But I said, I vote with the people in West Virginia 100%. And what you want to do with health care, what you did with taxes was wrong, Mr. President.
So what's your, Joe, so what's your message? I mean, because Donald Trump got like, what? He won by like 87 points.
42 points.
Well, or 42 or 87. You can
42.2 to be exact, Joe.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I'd round up to 45 or 50 if I were you. But anyway, so what message do you, and I'll add Jon Tester into it, what message do you and Jon Tester have for Democrats that are going to be running in 2020 in red states on how you can win and how you can get through a primary where people want you to go way too left and then beat the Republican in the general election? How did you do it?
Joe, let me just say this, and I would say this to the new Congress coming in, a Democrat-controlled Congress. Look for the positive. Look for ways you want to make things better. look for ways you can work with the elected officials. President Trump is our elected president. Every red-blooded American should want your president to do well and succeed. If they do well, if he does well or she does well, we all do well. But also make no mistake about it. Article 1 and 2 of the Constitution is very clear, the separation of powers. I've always taken this approach. I want the president to succeed. I want to work with him when it's good for my country and my state. If I think it's not and there's a better way, I'll stand up to him. So if they go in there basically saying, I'm going in with a positive attitude and not just an obstructionist and negative and against and against. So I would tell the new Congress, put your agenda together. Find out how you want to fix health care. Find out how you want to fix immigration. Find out all the different things, how we're going to fix the tax code and not have this horrible debt that we're inheriting and giving to our children. And then go and say, here, Mr. President, can you work with us on this? Then if the president refuses, they can go to the press, say, here's our agenda, here's what we've laid out, the new contract with America that makes us really better, and then take that positive. Don't use all your energy for negative. You get nowhere with it.
So, Joe,
and I think people know I want to fix things.
So, Joe, let me ask you this. This is a tough morning to ask this question, but I would have asked you this question regardless of the tragedy going on in Southern California. We're thinking about and praying for those people and the family members. But I want to ask you a question completely separate of the sad, tragic news breaking today. You and I talked a lot after Newtown in December of 2012 and beyond. As two guys that always had the support of the NRA, who believe that the Second Amendment says what the Second Amendment says, that Americans have a right to keep and bear arms. But you did what everybody said was not possible. You actually took on the NRA in West Virginia and said, hey, I believe in what you've always believed in, but there's some things that, background checks and bump stocks and a lot of other these issues. You actually parted with them, and everybody said you weren't going to be able to do that and survive in West Virginia. Well, you did. You survived. And the question again is, how did you do it? And how did you talk to gun owners in a way that made them understand you still supported the Second Amendment? You just wanted some reasonable safeguards.
Yeah. Joe, first of all the gun owners in West Virginia know me because I go hunting and shooting with them. So they know there's no one going to defend more than I'm going to defend your Second Amendment rights. But also we believe in West Virginia, law-abiding gun owners believe in gun sense, common gun sense. And I knew that resonated. And I said, guys, all I'm asking for, when there's a commercial transaction, don't you think we ought to know who that person is, what their background, and maybe what their purpose is? Don't you think if a person is too dangerous to get on an airplane, maybe they ought to be too dangerous to buy a gun? This common gun sense. I never took on the NRA. They took me on, Joe. I stay where I've always been. And I'm still an NRA member, lifetime. And I will remain that. Because I think there's enough good people. What I asked the NRA, put my bill in your magazine, let them vote on it. Put my bill and Toomey, Pat Toomey's, and see. You'll have 70 to 80, 90%. This is ridiculous.
Isn't that the great irony, Joe, that when we talk about the quote NRA, we're actually talking about 3 lobbyists in Washington, D.C., that actually the overwhelming majority of NRA members I know, and you know, and you even to have polls taken, you're exactly right, 70, 75, 80% of gun owners and even NRA members support what you are trying to do.
Oh, Joe, we did school safety. We did mental illness. We did everything. Our bill was a dream for any law-abiding gun owner. Our bill, the Manchin-Toomey bill, was a dream bill. It was a dream come true bill any other time. But the country's become so divisive and so divided that these social issues they're just drawing a line. Take the abortion issue. I said I was born in a pro-life family. I was raised pro-life, with the exceptions, and I've always voted pro-life, with the exceptions of rape, incest, and life of the mother, which I think is reasonable, which most pro-life people accept, and that's what they judge themselves by. They've gotten to the point now, there's no exclusions, no exceptions whatsoever. So all sides have gone to the extremes and just driven these social wedges to where people are pushed apart. I kept talking about things that people said, oh, you can't talk about that, Joe. I said, I'm the same person I've always been. People were trying to make it that I'm somebody different. I haven't changed. I'm not changing, Joe. I'm coming back to Washington on Tuesday. We've got to sit down and work through this. I've said Jeff Sessions should not have been fired. Mueller should be protected. We've got to get this investigation done to where it has credibility by the most credible person in Bob Mueller. All this stuff has to come. Lindsey Graham has said that. Basically, Tom Tillis has said it. Cory Booker has said it. And Chris Coons. They've got a bill. We need to get on that bill and make it work.
Senator Joe Manchin, congratulations. Great to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
Thank
all.
you.
Great talking to you,
I'm
Joe.
coming back, gang. I'm back. I'm back.
Yes, he is.
Well,
we hear you.
it may be safer on this side of the election than the other side.
I want to go for right in the House
Thank you for being
vote.
here.
Okay. Thank
All
you,
right.
Joe. Up next.
Oh, by the way, and Joe, if you're still there, it looks like Alabama, your brother Nick, may be taking them to another national championship. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Joe, we've got to go. Me and you've got to go to that game.
We do.
I'll get you tickets, okay?
No,
And watch out for the
And hey,
Mountaineers, by the way.
That was a pretty good ad, wasn't it?
that was a great ad. That was a great ad. That one, you shooting a bill on a post? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I blew the living daylights out of that bill.
Lord. Okay. Okay. Goodbye.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
Joe.
much. Great to see you. You
Oh,
guys
my
can make your
Lord.
plans offline.
Okay.
Up next, more about the impressive women who helped make history in the midterm election. We'll talk to one of them, Michigan's governor-elect, Gretchen Whitmer. Keep it right here on Morning Joe.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.